A note on In a Better World. A very acclaimed film, appreciated. It won both the Academy Award and the Golden Globe for Best Foreign Picture. And indeed, we have here a narrative with so many themes and so thought-provoking. Heaven, I think, in the original, and I'm wondering if this is not, in a literal transition, heaven. Uh, at the center of it, I see Dr. Anton. Some others might suggest that Elias, his son, and Christian, his friend and foe at times, would be better protagonists. Nevertheless, they all play important roles. We follow Dr. Anton in Africa, and this is where not half, maybe not even a quarter of the action takes place, but it makes for some poignant scenes, and it's an important counterbalance. We have Africa and the big problems there, horrifying issues, in fact. I'll get to that in a moment. And on the other, we have the rich world, the Nordic states. We're talking Denmark and Sweden. At one point, there is a clash between Anton and a mechanic, a guy working in a mechanic shop who is abusing the father, Anton. I'm saying father because he is with his son and the friends of his son there. And he says something like, "You go back to Sweden, you mule," or something. And so the rich world, indeed, the Nordic states have different statistics, the happiest populations, the wealthiest in the case of Norway, as a big country, not Qatar with the biggest GDP per person, and on, and standard of living and access to education, healthcare, and so on and so on, social support. But Africa has indeed horrifying aspects there, and at the same time, the Nordic states are not resplendent from all points of view. Indeed, I started to read recently Buddha's Brain, talking about the fact that we all have, in a degree or another, a mental health issue, and saying, as an example, that in the Nordic states, indeed, many people, 1 in 5, I think they were saying, has had some issue at one point or another. Maybe I'm exaggerating. I see that as a lot. 1 in 5 having to cope with a mental issue of some kind, probably most of the time minor, such as anxiety or, I don't know, panic attack. However, in the Nordic part of the story, we have the children. They're not children, they're teenagers actually. Elias and Christian preparing to set up a bomb, no less. And this is outrageous, and it makes, as I said, for a counterbalance. Why? I mean, look at how you're living here, and think of Africa, and that's you're bored. It's more complicated than that, obviously, but then having too much is a recipe for failure. Learn to fail or fail to learn. Harvard professor Talbot Jaha keeps saying. Indeed, this seems to be a case. But then it's more complicated. We have that conflict I mentioned with the mechanic and the doctor, and with his son there, and the mechanic is abusive, pushing, kicking, even slapping the doctor. But the point of the doctor was you don't need to be violent. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not subhuman. I'm an intelligent human being. I don't know, maybe Buddhist. Not into violence, and that's my attitude. And I'm better than him. And he probably is. The problem is that the children take it differently. Oh, you saw how he abused, and I'm like, how can that happen? And we'll pay him. So they have to find some all things, fireworks, in the things of a grandfather or something, grandfather of Christian, who has an issue also to cope with. His mother died of cancer, big pain. I mean, she was tortured by the disease, and he's devastated also. And this is part of the explanation. And then Elias is living with his mother. They're not divorced, but separated, living apart. The father is in Africa, and just before, with the setting off of supposedly setting off of the bomb, he tries to communicate with him in Africa, and the father is terrified by another incident. So a missing parrot, and then it gets serious. And to end with Africa, in Africa there is the big man, a loathsome, despicable uh, monster. Indeed, the people from there call him. He's a monster. Call him a monster. They keep saying he's a monster. And he comes to the doctor with all his henchmen, with the guns and the cars, and he says, you're off. And this is another important moment. As I said, there are so many issues: children, how do you raise them, poor world, rich world, different problems, and on and on. And here, a doctor's issues, ethics, because the monster comes to be treated, and he cannot refuse it. Hippocrates, the oath and all that. But then it gets, in a way, simple for the doctor. Very good film.